Welcome to Private Capital Perspectives, a podcast from the Lineup Media Company. On this podcast, I sit down with operators, allocators, and investors to break down their strategies and learn more about how they're deploying capital across private markets today. My name is John Pugh. I'm a developer, operator, and real asset investor. Each episode brings candid conversations from the front lines. No filler, just insights to help you make better decisions and stay ahead of the market.
At Pugh Capital Partners, we work with family offices and private investors to create lasting value in real estate. Our mission is simple: the right projects, the right partners, and the execution to make them succeed. With 60-plus years of combined experience and over $1 billion in multifamily, industrial, retail, and mixed-use projects, our team knows what it takes to deliver. From planning to completion, we lead with discipline, transparency, and creativity our partners trust. Our approach rests on three principles: protect capital, invest with discipline, and invest alongside our partners. We pursue opportunities with strong fundamentals and real growth potential, generating income today while building legacy for tomorrow. To learn more, visit pewcapitalpartners.com, where excellence, alignment, and legacy guide everything we do.
Today's guest sits right at the intersection of institutional ownership and day-to-day execution in one of the most competitive Sun Belt markets. Joining us is Carla Malone, Vice President of Property Management at Newmark in Dallas, Texas, where she oversees teams and strategies across a diverse portfolio of commercial assets for institutional and private owners. Carla brings more than 2 decades of experience leading property operations, tenant experience, and value creation initiatives across office, industrial, retail, and medical office. In this conversation, we're going to dig into how top-tier property management really drives asset performance, what institutional owners are demanding in today's environment, and how operators can differentiate through service, technology, and execution in markets today. Carla, thanks for joining us. Really excited to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So, for our audience, maybe give us a little bit of like the absolute kind of top tier kind of backgrounds, your kind of career trajectory. We'd love to kind of share that with the audience. I think we're just trying to make sure we understand kind of your background and where you're coming from.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I've been in commercial real estate for over 2 decades now. I started with a small firm in Florida. I started out as the marketing director with that firm, but I was able to learn a lot of leasing, development, construction management. So I was fortunate enough to be exposed to all facets of the business and just really fell in love with it and decided that I wanted to switch from marketing to really being involved in the day-to-day aspect of the business. So I found a love for property management. And then from there, I was able to go over to CBRE and really learn the trade and hone my craft. And I've been fortunate enough throughout the years to work with some of the largest commercial real estate firms in the world, as well as with owner operators. So getting to see both sides of the business. And now I'm with Newmark and I oversee our property management teams here in Dallas.
Fantastic, guys. What an exciting market to be in. I'm sure. You said you moved over there within the past 12 months or a little bit beyond that?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm a transplant to Dallas from Florida. So there's been a bit of adjustment, but I have to say I absolutely love it. As a Florida girl, I'm not used to North Texas winters, but I'm working on it. That probably sounds dramatic to people from the East Coast, but it does get pretty cold here. But Dallas is a great place to be, and it's the entire Metroplex is really on fire right now, and for commercial real estate, it's a great place.
Yeah, I'd love to hear kind of, you mentioned it's on fire. I'd love to hear kind of what you're seeing in the market right now and specific to Dallas. And, what are some of the different property types that are getting the most activity and interest from your part of the business?
So I would say that retail, office, and industrial, as you know, industrial has just been amazing over the last several years, and you're seeing a lot of that here in the Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex, retail is a hot commodity. But you're seeing a focus shift back to office. I think we've moved beyond the COVID era and offices falling back in favor with investors. So that's really great to see. Here in Dallas, you're seeing a lot of growth north, away from the downtown. There are certain areas in the downtown area. You have Uptown, which is doing very well in terms of office, but downtown is not doing as well. We've seen a lot of larger tenants leave downtown or making announcements that they're leaving. AT&T is one of those. So
Okay,
they're
yeah.
moving north to Plano. They're developing a campus there, and you're seeing just a tremendous amount of growth along the tollway in Dallas, um, Frisco, Plano, and a lot of Class A buildings that are being developed, and just a lot of growth in terms of population, rooftops, retail. So that's the hot spot.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question is kind of why do you think that is? It sounds like they're just the newer are there newer properties being developed in those areas, or is it is it class A kind of flight to quality type of situation?
Yeah, I think you're seeing flight to quality. I think the development is following rooftops. A lot of people
Yeah.
have moved north into the suburbs of Dallas. And
Mhm.
so Dallas is home to a lot of corporate headquarters.
Mm.
And I think it's just in terms of commuting, it's much easier. And especially with return to office, it's getting people to come back to the office
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
difficult. I think it's becoming less so. I
Mhm.
think a lot of employers are mandating now that they return to office, whether it's a hybrid approach, Mondays and Fridays work from home, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays in the office. So I
Mhm.
think moving north following the rooftops is why you're seeing the development in those areas.
Makes sense. Yeah, there's definitely been something similar in Boston, where I spent 17 years before moving down here. But COVID has driven, a lot of the office space in the suburbs to be that much higher occupancies and such. In terms of industrial, I'm curious because I know there's been a large amount of building in the Dallas area. How is occupancy there? Is it stable? Is it kind of is it a challenging environment right now that you're seeing or not?
No, it's not challenging at all. It's very stable, and we're still seeing large amounts of industrial development take
Mm.
place, and I think we'll continue to see that. It's incredible to see the growth, and Dallas Fort Worth is just a huge market, and you're seeing a lot of development now in South Dallas,
Mhm.
industrial projects, and out west, west of Dallas. So it's on fire as well.
So kind of switching gears a little bit, I'm curious about your teams there at Newmark and kind of how you yeah, I guess a really a question for me because we're kind of in the process of getting to know some property managers here in Tampa.
Okay.
Is how do you identify someone who's going to be a standout property manager? How does that what does that candidate look like?
Well, it depends on the asset.
Mhm.
So, say for instance, you have a Class A office product that you're trying
Mhm.
to staff.
Mhm.
uh, there has to be a component of hospitality,
Mhm.
especially post-COVID.
Yeah.
The property management industry has changed dramatically. It's not
Mhm.
just someone who sits behind the desk and does numbers.
Yeah.
It's just a variety of skill sets are required.
Mhm.
Uh, and so, for instance, a Class A office product, you really have to approach the management of that asset from a hospitality perspective.
Yeah.
Um, so you have to have someone who can build relationships, who
Sure.
can focus on customer service,
Mhm.
but that person also has to understand financials because, that's key, protecting NOI and being a team builder and having strong leadership skills because those types of assets typically require larger teams. So it's challenging. most people don't say, I want to grow up to be a property manager. So finding, really good talent is difficult. I think that's, across all industries, but
Sure.
those are the things that, really we look for when we're staffing a project. Um,
Where does property management create the most value for property owners from your experience? You've been in the business a long time. Like, what are the high level? Are there two or three things that you feel like are the biggest value creators for good property management?
Yeah, so I think to really add value, you're not just acting as a caretaker. You really have to have the mentality of ownership. You have to understand what your
Mm,
asset manager is thinking, and you really have to partner with your asset manager to understand what the investment strategy is and how to achieve that. I
mm,
think protecting NOI is so important, managing expenses, but without sacrificing quality.
mm,
It's really
yeah,
where you can add value. And then building those tenant relationships are
mm,
really key. Once you get the tenant in there, your job is that's when your job really starts is to make
sure.
sure that your tenants are satisfied with their space. But it's just beyond, your annual ice cream social. It's really creating community now.
Mm,
Because
mm,
as you know, post COVID, getting people to commute to the office, there has to be a sense of purpose going into an office building now, kind of
yeah,
rather return on investment, return on commute. So,
yeah,
are you creating that community within a building? Are you
mm, mm,
giving people a reason to come to the office?
yeah,
And I think that's really key.
yeah, and that's kind of so in terms of curating community, is that curating events for the building, or like what exactly does that look like? Bringing the tenants together to kind of for social connections, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So
Mm,
you have to have a good set of amenities,
mm,
your typical list of amenities, gym, conference center, um, things of that nature. But you have to bring your tenants together and
mm,
activate those spaces. And,
mhm,
it's not just, again, your annual ice cream social and your annual Christmas party. It's creating
mm,
small events throughout the year where you're getting your tenants together. They're communicating with one another. They're
yeah,
getting to know each other and collaborating. And so
mm,
really activating the building to create that community is
mm,
so important. Health and wellness is another key to creating a community. You don't just offer a gym, you offer massage therapy, you have a personal trainer, you have yoga classes, you have running clubs, walking clubs, those
yeah,
types of things. You get people to maybe come into the building early to participate in a walk club, a run club, or stay afterwards. You create a space where people can go and sit in the lobby, but it doesn't feel like a lobby. It feels like a place where you can go and you can sit with your colleague and collaborate, and it's kind of like feeling like you're in your living room where you want to be, where you're
yeah,
comfortable.
yeah. That and I mean, I haven't. I've my career is intersected with office earlier in my career, but I haven't really been involved in the last 10 years. This what you've just described, this gathering space, those kind of social types of events. That's only really become a thing in the last 5 years. Is that the right way to think of that, or is it's evolved into that way? Yeah.
It's really evolved, and again, I think it's, you know, COVID kind of created that. People, they wanted to work from their homes. They didn't wanna leave, and getting people back into the office, you have to give them a reason to do it,
Mm.
and it has to be beyond, "Well, we said so," right? Um, is
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's the employer's responsibility as well to create an environment within their space that people want to work, but it's also creating that environment within the building
Mm.
that's important.
Curious, you've been in the business a long time. In a distressed asset, or an asset that's under stress. what usually kind of breaks first? Is it the people, the systems, the incentive structures? Is it physical building itself? Like what has created the meaningful amount of stress in buildings over your career in terms of? I'm sure you have lots of great stories.
So, a building in distress. Um, I think what breaks first is, the day-to-day operations of the building. I think, you know, owners stop investing where they should in
Mm,
keeping the building maintained. And
yeah.
it's not just the front of the house, everything that, everyone sees, right? It's all of
Mm,
the back of the house stuff.
right.
I think that probably gets deferred.
Yeah.
And, when you have a building in distress, I think you'll see a lot of deferred maintenance if you're
Mhm,
looking at it from an investment perspective.
yeah.
You'll stop seeing upgrades. It's kind of like a hotel. I think, every 5 to 7 years, they have to upgrade their lobby. They're on a program similar to an office product.
Yeah.
You'll stop seeing that investment.
Mm,
And, I think that wears on property managers too when you're trying to give your best, but the capital dollars aren't there.
yeah.
And then you start seeing a decline in occupancy.
So what operational metrics should owners pay more attention to today? Is there anything that's specific that you see that's, the one metric that either, really good owners pay attention to and maybe the more mediocre ones don't, or is there anything that you comes to mind?
Yeah, so, I've worked with a variety of owners, and I think you have to be a good steward of the asset that you own, and you
Yeah.
have to really be committed to maintaining that asset.
Mm,
Again, back of the house, doing your repairs and maintenance,
yeah.
having that capital plan, 5-year capital plan, and committing to maintaining the quality of the asset.
Mm,
Have to commit to upgrading the facilities, the
yeah.
lobbies, common areas, restrooms, and creating those amenity spaces. If you wanna see a high occupancy, you have to have those amenities, and you have to have a great team.
Mm,
And it really starts with the property management team and the engineering team. I think without that, you could have the best amenities, you could have the best building in the world, right? But if you don't have the people that are on the ground executing every day, um, you're not gonna have a great asset.
yeah, I mean, it comes back to people, right?
Right.
If you've got to have the right people in place and doing the right things. Is there a tendency for operators that maybe are capital constrained in some way to spread their resources too thinly? Is that part of that story you're just kind of telling?
Yes, I've seen that. They do spread their resources very thin. You'll start maybe seeing less of an allocation of a property manager to a building
Yeah.
to reduce salary cost. So then you're not getting the one-on-one time with the tenants. You don't have the property management boots on the ground really
Mm,
interacting and keeping an eye on the asset, right? It's
mm,
something that needs to be walked every day, or an industrial building, it needs to be walked weekly. You need to know what's going on at those assets at all times. And
mm.
so, stretching teams thin is is a downfall.
Yeah, I've we when I worked with an ownership group up in Boston, we had a fantastic property management team on a particular a large asset there, and I was always impressed whenever I walked the asset with the property manager. He would actively pick up trash and
Absolutely.
knew everybody walking by in the building. It was really prior to that, I hadn't had any experience dealing with
Yeah.
really high grade professional property managers, and it was like, wow, this guy loves his building, cares about his building so much, and it was pretty neat to be a part of a team that was that cared about what they did so much. Because I can definitely understand what you mean. In terms of like, so leasing is an important part of of managing a building, and you mentioned amenities. I just, I think there's, what are you seeing in terms of leasing interest? It sounds like retail, industrial, and office are getting a lot of traction today. Is there a specific product type where leasing is more active, and you're seeing more activity in terms of new tenant interest and things like that?
So I think you're seeing, well, more so here in Dallas. I mean,
Hmm.
industrial is stable. I think there's still strong demand there.
Hmm.
Retail, of course, is just, I mean, it's a great time to be in retail. Retail was always kind of, I think, frowned upon and not really, an asset class that institutions
Hmm.
really had favor for, and I think that's changing. There hasn't been a lot of retail developed over the years, so you're seeing very little vacancy these days.
Yeah.
Uh, but I know here in Dallas, in terms of office, you're seeing companies really start to make long-term commitments to office space.
Hmm.
I think during COVID and you were seeing maybe just some short-term extensions, not really knowing what their real estate strategy was going to be. But I
Hmm.
think would move beyond COVID, their employers are committing to bringing their teams back into the office, and they're committing to long-term leases, large leases. We're seeing a lot of interest in Dallas for large blocks of space, anywhere from 25,000 square feet up to 100,000. And again, Dallas is home to a lot of corporate headquarters.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, you're seeing a lot of leasing activity in the office space, and I think 2026 is going to be a really strong year for office here.
Good to hear. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we developed a property up in Boston, 100,000 square foot last mile industrial building, and it was constructed about a little over 2 years ago. It was completed, and it's been sitting empty. There's been, the demand in specifically to Boston for new products, well located products. It really dried up, pretty significantly for a number of years. There's been some, sparks of life in the last, 6 months or so, which has been good. Recently signed two recreational tenants to the property. They've taken about two-thirds of the property now, in terms of leasing, and it was really like when it first came up, it was like everyone was looking at each other like, "Are we really going to sign a recreational tenant to this space?" And but it's a great use. They can generate a good amount of income, and so it's been interesting to see that kind of evolve. Are you seeing some of that creativity in leasing there? Part of the other reason I'm asking is because I know here in Central Florida as well, there's been an overbuilding of big box industrial in this particular area, Tampa,
Right.
Central Florida.
Yeah.
What's the general feeling there in terms of industrial?
I would say that while you're still going to see development in industrial,
Mhm.
it's not going to be like it was during COVID, where you were seeing huge Amazon warehouses and distribution warehouses. I think it's going to definitely scale back a bit.
Mhm.
It seems that small bay industrial is really popular right now. We're
Mhm.
working with a client who bought a small bay industrial project
Mhm.
just outside of Dallas, and they have great occupancy and are really putting a lot of capital into that asset. So I think small bay, I think what's happened is you were seeing all of those big box warehouses being built
Yeah.
and not a lot of small bay development. So that seems to be a focus these days.
Yeah, all the support staff and the support contractors and the local, local subcontractors need a place to operate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's interesting. And then I don't is does Dallas have a defense? I know there's been a lot of defense contracting. Is defense a part of the economy there, or what are the main drivers in the economy in Dallas?
So I would say the main driver is probably financial services.
Okay.
Um, especially with Y'all Street coming to Dallas, the Texas, version of Wall Street. So I know they're opening the Texas Stock Exchange. We're seeing Goldman Sachs, they're building a campus here in Dallas. So you have a lot of insurance, financial services.
Cool.
Um, so that's really one of the main drivers here in Dallas.
Wall Street. I have not heard that term
Yeah.
before. That's fantastic. I love it.
I heard a stat that Dallas has more financial workers than New York does now. So I don't know if it's true, but
Oh,
that's what so uh
wow.
it's definitely growing in terms of, financial firms coming here.
Where do you see things over the next 12 to 18 months? I'm curious because, the economy's, there's a lot of things happening in the economy today that are, disruptive in a lot of ways. Data centers are obviously, a really massive amount of CapEx and construction is going on right now. I know a lot of it's centered in Texas. Um, where do you see, I mean, you mentioned retail is strong. I'm kind of curious what your take is on the economy. Is it a steady trajectory? Is it a meaningfully growing kind of economy? I guess speaking more generally to Dallas, where do you think things go?
Yeah, so I think you're going to see certain markets are making a comeback. I know despite the political headlines in New York City, their economy seems like it's positive. Office leasing in Class A product is doing really well.
Yeah.
Where I'm from in Florida, Miami and West Palm Beach, I mean, just tremendous growth. You're seeing a lot of firms that are relocating to South Florida.
Mhm.
Um, and then here in Dallas, we're seeing, a similar growth. So I think there are pockets of the country where some
Mhm.
folks are doing really, really well.
Mhm.
But I think overall, our economy I think 2026 is going to be a great year. I think you're going to see investors start coming back. There's a
Good.
lot of activity. You're seeing opportunities to
Mhm.
maybe purchase assets at a
Mhm.
lower basis, whether it's through short sale or forced bank sales. So you're seeing a lot of opportunity for office investors
Mm.
um, go in and rebrand and reposition an asset because of the office demand. I think retail is going to continue to be strong. But good quality retail, and then your neighborhood grocery anchored centers, I think you're still gonna see a lot of growth there. I think
Mm.
that's again gonna follow the rooftops, and there are a lot of people moving to Dallas, and the suburbs outside of Dallas.
Mhm.
So, I am excited for 2026. Everyone in my office is they seem pretty positive. They feel like this is going to be a strong year. We're putting COVID behind us. We've gotten through the election, and y- occupiers are making commitments to space, and
Mhm.
investors are back, and they're looking to buy.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking. Part of the reason I asked your opinion on the economy is I feel like you were seeing in real time companies making commitments, capital commitments, right, over the long term, and the amount of activity of those capital commitments is definitely indicative of where growth is going and whether or
Right.
not it's actually showing up or not. So it's good to hear that you feel strongly about that growth. Um, You've mentioned retail. What I'm just curious, kind of what I assume it runs the gamut, but what specifically in terms of retail, what type of products do you typically manage? Is it everything from strip centers to malls, or is there some specific product type that's most prevalent in the portfolio that you guys manage?
So we're focused primarily on your neighborhood grocery anchored or smaller strip center.
Right.
Um, And I think that any sort of retail that has, an experience component to it, where
Mhm.
people can go and shop and dine and have an entertainment option,
Mm.
You can only do so much shopping on Amazon, right? It's easy for certain things and it gets dropped off at your door, but people want to go out and see and touch products and have, nights out with their family, go to a nice dinner, walk around a center that feels like a community. So I think you're
Mm.
seeing a lot of that. I know north of Dallas, in the Legacy West area, there's a great area where you have the experience factor, you have the restaurants, you have the shopping, and I think you're going to
Mm.
continue to see growth in that sector.
Yeah.
Um, because again, shopping from your couch is fun, but sometimes you got to get out of the house, right? And I think that's you're seeing a lot of return to office too.
Yeah.
I think people have realized that working from home, it's great on a Monday or a Friday when you're trying to catch up, but you
Mm.
need to interact with people and collaborate. And so I think we're gonna continue to see a lot of growth in office because of that.
Are some of the assets that you manage, are they in the kind of mixed use, larger mixed use scale that you're saying? I'm more curious because my understanding is there's a meaningful, premium for whether it be office rents or apartment rents or retail. Is that something is there a lot of that in Dallas? Because I've only spent a day or two in Dallas myself. I don't
Yeah.
know it that well. So yeah.
There is a lot of that. My team does not manage that type of retail.
Mhm.
You'll
Okay.
see that type of retail is self-performed typically. The
Okay.
owner will
Yes. Yeah.
manage that retail primarily.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking a bit more on the multifamily front the other day
Yeah.
with a group who joined, and it was they were just basically we were talking about purchasing new multifamily assets in the Florida area, and the rent premium was pretty significant for walkable because I'm sure you know Florida very well. There's not that much walkability, so when there is some amount of it, it's a pretty meaningful premium.
Absolutely. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of walkability in Dallas either. I think they're trying to create that. I think that's a culture thing too. You can say it's
Yeah.
walkable, but
Yeah.
when it's 110 degrees outside,
Yeah, you're not
it's
walking
not walkable, right?
anywhere. Yeah, 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 exactly. And I've come down from Boston, and Boston's not very walkable in February, but
Right.
probably the year it is. And being here in Tampa now for 3.5 years, I understand you don't want to get caught in a monsoon downpour in
Right.
95-degree heat. So you've been in the business a long time. I'm curious, is there a specific experience or story that comes to mind that you would want to share with your younger self? If you were to speak to your younger self or somebody who wants to grow in the property management business, that's either, a fun anecdote or an experience that you had that you felt might be particularly illuminating to kind of the business.
Well, I will say that in real estate property management specifically, you get to meet a lot of people. Some not so nice, but then you also get to meet a lot of amazing people.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I love about property management. You
Mm.
can really build relationships,
Yeah.
and I think that's key. I would go back and tell my younger self to really focus on building those relationships,
Yeah.
and just really enjoy this business.
Mm.
It's fun. Every day is different. You go
Mm.
into the office with a plan,
Yeah.
and you never follow the plan, right?
Yeah.
Something happens, a tenant has a need, there's a pipe burst or someone's trapped in the elevator, um
Yes.
it's just really exciting, to just you just
Yeah.
never know where the day is going to take you, right?
Yeah, you
uh
have to be flexible and adaptable. That
yes,
was always the challenge. When I first started, I remember meeting some people who were extremely good with analytics and
right,
the spreadsheet by themselves, and
yes,
and uh and um I was pretty good with the spreadsheet and pretty good with analytics,
Yeah.
and good with people and relationships generally. And I just remember thinking, oh, it's tough if it's hard. It's a hard business to be in if you're rigid and you're not flexible and you're not people kind of focus oriented. Because it just opens up so many more opportunities. I think that's the message I try to tell young people whenever I meet with them, which is very much aligns with what you just said, I think. But
Yeah. I mean, and I think, when I started out in my career, the biggest office building that I managed was probably 50,000 square feet, which
Mhm.
to me, that felt huge.
Yeah.
One of the last projects I worked on before leaving Florida
Mm.
was a 700,000 square foot new
Yeah.
construction double A office product, which
Mm.
I mean, that is just an amazing type of
Yeah.
asset. Everything that goes into operating an asset like that, from the
Yeah.
hospitality, from the behind the scenes, the mechanical,
Mm.
working with the city, getting permits, getting
Mm.
inspections, the financial component is incredible. I mean, you have a huge operating budget, right?
Right.
So there's just so much opportunity in property management and on the engineering side.
Mm.
I won't even begin to speak about engineering, but for folks that are mechanically inclined, it's just a great career. So and it's just fun, right? I mean, some days are challenging, some tenants are challenging, but again, you meet so many amazing people, and it
Yeah.
really takes a team to run
Yeah.
successful asset.
Mm.
So if you're creative and you're flexible and you like people, I mean, this is just a great business to be in.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Carla. Really enjoyed getting to know you and sharing some of your thoughts with our viewers. So thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.